What's going on YouTube? As you know, people in America love their big luxury SUVs, which is why products such as this Mercedes GLS have been so popular. And today we're checking out the refreshed 2024 GLS, a flagship promising to bring even more luxury on the inside, a refreshed exterior, and additional technology. So with all these enhancements, does it beat all the competition such as BMW X7? Let's go ahead and find out. All right, so let's start out under the hood as always, where we do have some enhancements for the 2024 refresh. So this is the GLS 450. That means we have a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder with EQ Boost mild hybrid. Total system output has increased to 375 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque.
Now, as far as your transmission, both of the models are going to have a 9-speed automatic. You also do have 4MATIC all-wheel drive as standard equipment. For the 450 model, fuel economy has been bumped up 1 mpg this year to 21 miles a gallon combined.
Now, when it comes to the exterior design, Mercedes said that they redesigned the grille for a more striking look, and I would say that is certainly true. You'll probably notice that this is refreshed really right from the start because they've made some substantial changes up here to the front. So you notice the grille itself is kind of enlarged. We also now have 4 bars that prominently go across the front end design. We have the AMG line, and we also have the night package. So that's going to be the most aggressive look, and as you can see, because of that, we also have a smoked finish across these bars, as well as all the gloss black accents you'll see on the lower fascia, as well as all around the rest of the vehicle. Now, let's take a look at the headlights as well. These have been slightly updated. They're full LED, of course. We have a beautiful design, a nice crystal look here for the low and the high beams, and also our LED turn signal indicator and daytime running lights. Now, as we come around to the rear design, probably going to notice less changes than in the front, but there have been some revisions for 2024.
Yeah, and those revisions are really going to be just in your taillight. So let's go ahead and check out this new taillight unit and see if all the elements are LED. So we do have an LED brake light portion, LED reverse light, and LED turn signal indicator. This is going to be a nice amber finish for 2024. Also, the accenting is going to be different this year. So that's going to be a way that you can tell that this GLS is a refreshed 2024 model. Now, dropping down to this lower area, since we do have the AMG night package, all of this is going to be blacked out. We do have chrome-tipped exhaust outlets, though, which I do like. As far as your tow rating is concerned, Mercedes was being oddly specific, 7,716 pounds.
Next up, let's take a look at our wheel options. You've got a lot of different choices, as you'd expect. They're going to be ranging from 20 to 23-inch alloy wheels. Once again, AMG with Nightline package, that is going to give you the gloss black accents with the contrast look. I really like the way this looks. And as we move up here to the mirrors, again, gloss black finish on top of here, and these are going to be fully loaded, of course, as a flagship luxury SUV. So you have auto dimming, power folding, blind spot monitoring, and heating.
Now, at the side of the GLS, you're not going to see many styling revisions, but since we have that night package, all of this is going to be blacked out, including our roof rails. As far as our overall length, it's 205 inches, just like last year. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned, Mercedes is going to offer an entire suite of safety systems on this GLS. You can get every single one of them that you can even dream of on this model. But guys, that wraps up the refreshed exterior design. And if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, now let's move on to the interior. I have some cool things to show you guys in there, but first we'll take a look at the key fob. This is your typical Mercedes key fob. As you can tell, of course, Smart Entry is going to be standard. Remote start is via the Mercedes Me application. And to get inside, just reach behind the handle. That will unlock the door and fold the mirrors outward. Now, taking a look inside of the interior, just like with the exterior, the updates are going to be, more subtle, but there are some meaningful upgrades. And I'm happy to report that this model right here does have those updates to show off to you guys. So What upgrades am I talking about? Well, in terms of our color options, we have the new option of Bahia Brown. There is also another new color called Catalina Beige. And as you can see on this model's optional real leather seats, this looks absolutely fantastic. We have a lot of color contrast stitching through here. Just a beautiful overall execution of the seat itself. And by the way, MB-Tex will be the standard seating option, and you can further upgrade to Napa leather if you want. Now, the other nice upgrade that this model is featuring is this brand new trim selection. This is the piano black flowing lines trim. You may recognize this because this is straight from the Maybach version of this model, and now it is on the 450 this year. Now that we're over here, let's take a look at our seat controls. We have 14-way power adjusting seats, including a power headrest. You have 3-person memory seating. We do have massaging as well because this is the pinnacle trim level, and heating and ventilation will both be standard as well. But let's go ahead and climb inside and take a look at the other details. And we do have soft closed doors as well. Now, as far as the other materials inside this cabin, it continues to be just a beautiful, well-executed cabin on board. So we'll start out taking a look over here at our door trim. Of course, full leather through here. We're going to have leather across the entire upper door trim as well. Beautiful real metal speaker grills. As we go across the extreme upper dash, again, finished in a nice leather material. The flowing lines trim is going to extend all through the center section with our metal vents right through there. And then we have the beautiful leather going across our signature GLS handlebars. Now, to fire it up, you're just going to put your foot on the brake and press the button right there. Now, like always, let's move into a first-person perspective, take a closer look at all the details. First of all, we do have our digital gauge cluster. Just like previously, this is going to be included as standard equipment, the dual 12.3-inch display setup, and you can reconfigure this to pretty much any different design that you can imagine. It does also change with the drive modes. And then we've got a head-up display optionally located up top. What's different for 2024 is this steering wheel. So we have the latest Mercedes design steering wheel. This is the specific AMG steering wheel. It looks really, really cool because it's got the kind of see-through, and we have touch capacitive buttons for controlling our main display as well as our gauge cluster. Steering wheel itself is going to be power tilt and telescoping. We do also have steering wheel heating, and the warmth and comfort package will include heated armrest as well. And speaking of the armrest over here on this side, let's get into interior storage. As you can see, pretty nicely sized center console here. It's nicely felt lined. We have a USB-C inside. We have some piano black trim that's running through the center section here, and then underneath of this piece is where you're going to find your 2 cup holders, which by the way are also heated and cooled cup holders. And then we have a wireless phone charging pad with 2 more USB-C ports. Now, in typical Mercedes fashion, no shifter over here. That's going to be located on the column. Is press down for drive. You have these paddle shifters here to shift manually. Press up for reverse. And when you go into reverse, we do have the 360-degree camera system on today's example. So as you can see, you've got that nice overhead view as well as the active trajectory. And then if we press this button right here, this allows us to go into a new 3D spin view. So we have this kind of overhead drone-like view. This is going to be new to the GLS for 2024. As you can see, really, really advanced, just like it is in the S-Class and other Mercedes products. Then for park, you're just going to press the button right on the end of the stock. You do, of course, have an electronic parking brake as well. Now taking a look in this area, you've got a lot of different buttons. This button here is going to be for controlling your air suspension. You do have your drive mode controller right here, and then we also have our volume knob. So as far as the audio systems, we have the 13-speaker Burmester sound system that's going to be standard. There is also a super high-end 26-speaker version that you can option on, but let's go ahead and sample this regular version of the Burmester. Yeah, so overall sound quality is excellent, as you would expect. Okay, let's move our attention now to our climate controls. These are going to be the same this year. We do have these nice metal toggles to adjust the temperature up and down. As far as what this is, it's actually going to be standard 4-zone automatic climate control. We have the optional 5-zone, so yes, even the third row has its own zone. Very cool. And as you adjust the temperature up, the ambient lighting will turn red, down, the ambient lighting will turn blue. Now let's take our attention up here to the display. I already mentioned this is 12.3 inches, but what's new this year is that we have the latest version of MBUX. That includes wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay for the first time. So that's big news for a lot of you guys. As far as the rest of it, it's going to look very familiar to you. You also have the nice built-in navigation system, and you can get augmented reality navigation as well. Up top, we've got an auto-dimming mirror, 3 HomeLink universal remotes. And then taking a look at the ceiling here, we've got the large panoramic sunroof. As you'd expect, this is going to be standard equipment, goes all the way back, and this front panel does open up.
Now, sitting in the GLS's rear seat is always a pleasure, and that is going to continue for 2024 with some enhancements. Now, I want to talk about the space first. So 41.9 inches of leg room. We're sitting at 40.2 inches of headroom. So that's going to be nearly identical to the Cadillac Escalade as well as the BMW X7. You know, the Germans, they like to compete with each other and be nearly identical. So those are basically the exact same legroom figures. I'm 5'9" for reference, and with the seat adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", we're sitting at 9.5 inches of knee space, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. So very comfortable rear seat area. Now, with this, I want to mention a few different things. So first of all, we have the captain's chair setup on this particular model. You can also get bench seating if you prefer to have that extra middle seat option. And these seats are actually power adjusting. So over here on the door trim, you can power adjust your GLS's rear seat, which is a very fancy feature that you only see on these top-end flagship luxury 3 rows. You're not going to get anything like that in a Cadillac Escalade, that's for sure. That's actually standard equipment on the GLS, which is very impressive. Now, turning to some of the features, I do want to point out, I believe this piece of trim in the back of the seat back is new. I love the way it looks here in person. And then we do also have 2 cup holders up top. We have a set of vents right here, a set of vents in the B-pillar, and a set of vents in the roof. So if you get hot or cold in here, then I don't know, you need to talk to Katy Perry, because certainly there is enough vents to keep you hot or cold. Now, as far as down below this, we do have 4-zone climate. That's standard equipment. We actually have the 5th zone, which I'll talk about in just a second, but you can adjust your temperature independent from the front. If we drop down here, this is a new feature for 2024. We have new USB-C ports in this area. And then turning back to the door trim, I do want to point out a few features. Of course, it's leather wrapped from top to bottom, but you'll also notice the heated seat control. We're also going to have heated rear armrest as well. You can get rear window sunshades. We don't have that on this particular example, but there is also a lot of bottle storage down below. But the GLS is all about the 3rd row, so let's check that out. So in order to get back here, Mercedes has made it very easy. You push this one little switch, and that's going to actually power fold your seat out of the way, because of course this is a power seat. It does have to power slide out of the way, and as you can see, it actually keeps the seat in place. So I imagine if you had a car seat installed, that's not going to be a problem in the GLS, which is certainly nice. Now let's head back here and see just how much space we have. I'm going to go ahead and recline my seat up a little bit because that's not true driving position. And now that I've got back here, wow, this is a very nice 3rd row. We're sitting at 34.6 inches of legroom. Mercedes actually said they designed this 3rd row to fit someone who's 6'4". Now I'm 5'9", and I don't know if someone 6'4" is going to fit back here great. But if you scoot the 2nd row up, I imagine they could fit back here just fine. Now, as far as how many seats you just have 2 seats. The thigh support is excellent. That's really the thing that I noticed the most about this GLS, is that the thigh support is phenomenal. Now, as far as other features in the 3rd row, we do have climate vents up here in the top. We have the optional 5th zone of climate, so we can adjust our own temperature for the 3rd row as well. Additionally, there's an option of heated 3rd row seats. We do not have that on this particular model. Additionally, we have 2 USB-C ports on each side. So 4 total, that is going to be new for 2024. And as far as how this lands on our third row rating scale, I'm going to say this is fit for adults. And walking up to the tailgate, of course, you have a hands-free power tailgate, standard equipment on all GLS models. Now, as far as the space is concerned back here, we're going to be sitting at about 17 cubic feet of cargo capacity behind the third row seats. Let me go ahead and fold those down. As you can see, it does actually power take down your headrest. That's very fancy. A lot of cars will not do that. Behind the second row seats, we're looking at about 48 cubic feet. And if we fold those puppies down with the press of a button as well, we're going to be sitting at about 85 cubic feet as a maximum cargo air capacity for the GLS. Now, if you're comparing that to the BMW X7, that's going to be pretty much right on par. If you're comparing it to a Cadillac Escalade, though, you're going to be about 20 cubic foot less, so do keep that in mind. Now, as far as our measurements, let's go ahead and get those, because at Car Confections, we like to give you all the details. And measuring from the back of the seat back all the way to the rear of the cargo area, 85 inches of length. And then I'm going to also get your width. We're going to be sitting at about 48 inches wide. So if you're looking to haul things in the GLS, you're not going to have very many issues. I believe you could fit basically a full-size refrigerator in the back of this area. Now, I want to point out the power folding third row and second row, that's standard. And then if we lift up the cargo floor, we have a spare tire underneath of there.
Now, because this is such a beautiful and fresh GLS, unfortunately, it was sold while we were in the middle of filming. So that does mean that we're not going to go for a drive in this specific model. However, just to give you guys something to look at, we're going to include a little snippet of our test drive of last year's model. Like I mentioned at the spec dump, this does have 13 more horsepower, with the total being 375 horsepower this year. Otherwise, the powertrain, though, is going to be unchanged. So it's still very much a useful test drive for you guys to see, I think, because it is going to be mostly the same besides for the 13 horsepower.
Nice.
And there we are at 60 miles per hour. So like we mentioned at various points throughout this review, we have the GLS 450. That's going to be the standard engine option on board, but it's far from basic. It's actually a very advanced system. It's going to be a 3-liter turbo inline 6-cylinder paired with Mercedes EQ Boost, which is basically a mild hybrid system, which, as Boost implies, does boost performance slightly, but it is mostly focused on powering advanced auto start-stop and boosting efficiency, which you'll see demonstrated throughout this review. Total power is 362 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque, so very healthy numbers, and those are going to exceed the standard options in both the Audi Q7 and BMW X7, if you're comparing those two.
And just using that acceleration there as a good reference point, it's definitely enough power to get this big SUV. I mean, this is a large luxury 3-row. It's a big SUV. It's definitely enough power to get it up to 60 in a good amount of time. Mercedes quotes it at 5.9 seconds for this 450 model. Now, of course, there are other engine options if this is not quite good enough for you.
I mean, it's strong.
Yeah.
The torque feels really good. But like Mason was saying, there's going to be also the GLS 580, and that's going to be your V8 option.
Right. 4-liter twin-turbo V8. You're still keeping the EQ boost. That's going to have 483 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque. So that's obviously an incredible experience. So if you want to ball completely out, get the 580 model. There is also AMG versions of the GLS as well. So if 580 is not good enough, Mercedes does offer pretty much something for everyone. So, but definitely don't think that going for the 450 is like a huge downgrade or whatnot. This is definitely a very premium powertrain experience.
Yeah, so smooth and so refined. You can't really hear it very much, but what you do hear is kind of a little bit of a deeper sound. It's very pleasant sounding. And you don't really feel any vibrations or anything into the cabin. Of course, there's a lot of isolation with the powertrain.
so smooth and refined. And also the 9-speed automatic is as well. That just...
Absolutely. Yeah, right now we're in the comfort mode. That's going to keep things very comfortable. That's really the main focus, of course, of a GLS. And if you were paying attention to the tachometer, you notice it did go down to 0 well before I came completely to a stop. That's part of that EQ boost system. It's going to turn off the engine. Anytime you have low loads, even if you're at high speeds, perhaps going down a hill or something like that, it's going to get that engine off. And the mod hybrid system allows it to restart super seamlessly.
Yeah.
It's outrageously smooth. It's really hard to even put into words. We've talked about this in some past Mercedes reviews, but this system, if you're the type of person that, complains about your auto start stop system, you're always turning it off, this is one you're not going to notice at all. There's no reason that you would ever turn it off because you don't even know when the engine's on or off. There is zero feel. Somehow they made it where there's no noise either. You cannot hear if it has turned the engine on or off. It's really incredible.
Hands down, the best auto start stop system still to this day. It's been out for actually a few years at this point, and it's still to this day is the best auto start stop system. Now, to go along with that 9-speed automatic transmission, we do have standard all-wheel drive on every single GLS, so they're not messing around with that. You're going to have 4MATIC all-wheel drive to make sure that you're able to put that power down regardless of the weather conditions or what situation you're in. Which does mean you're only going to have one fuel economy for the 450 model. That's going to be 21 mpg combined for this 450. If you go for the 580, surprisingly not horrible fuel economy. You're still looking at 18 miles per gallon combined, which that's honestly not bad at all, because if you're looking at other rivals, such as like an Escalade, you'd be looking at pretty poor fuel economy regardless. And that 580 model is definitely going to have a lot more power than that. But guys, let's talk about your ride quality, because we haven't mentioned that up until this point, and I think that's a big, strong element for the GLS. Guys, this is one of the best riding vehicles money can buy. It does a phenomenal job. That's what any luxury three-row should do a good job at, and this just knocks it out of the park. Incredibly comfortable suspension. We do have an air suspension on this particular model. You can definitely feel that. When you hit a bump, it's like, what bump? Nothing came into the cabin. The seats are also pretty comfortable. I imagine they might even get more comfortable if you get like higher grade leather and stuff. So certainly just an incredibly, incredibly premium driving experience.
And let's talk pricing for the 2024 GLS. Now, we do have just incomplete pricing information because we're very early on getting this review, but I can read the window sticker of this particular model and tell you how much you can expect to pay for 2024. So the base price for a 450 4MATIC is going to be $87,000 this year. Now, last year it was about $81,000, so it's going to be about $6,000 more as a starting point for 2024 as compared to 2023. This particular model has pretty much all the options on it. We're a loaded Pinnacle trim with a lot of different features on it. We're looking at $106,820 as tested today. And guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the 2024 Mercedes-Benz GLS 450. Now, of course, we are very excited to have this model on the channel. We're one of the first to see the US spec version of this refreshed GLS. So please hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, because we really like to get things early here at Car Confections. So you're going to be able to get some of the newest car reviews first by subscribing. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support, because you really do make this all possible. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.